Okay. I'm a bit dressed differently. I'm gonna be a bit more silent. I just have to see how this is gonna go. Wait, what's this? Oh, yeah. First thought I would fix this to my chest and then just walk. Maybe I can. Nah, I'm just gonna carry it. Okay, this is where I stopped last time, and I simply decided to start here. Because I was already preparing the entire week to do this again. This is actually quite a nice starting point. Okay, so I want to make a bow staff, so I'm also looking for... Yeah, I can just take like a tree. You know, I'm just gonna ask for permission to harvest a tree. Okay, last time... Oh yeah, I wanted to fill my bottle. Yeah, I'm going to fill my bottle. So I still maybe have... Also don't need a filter. At least I think, right? Or I feel. You know, we always say I think. I think it's actually that we feel. Getting used to winter, hey? Wow, this feels much better. I'm still not sure how much of myself I need to reveal in these videos. It shouldn't actually matter that much. Okay, so, you know, cold to me is a real challenge. I don't know about Wim Hof and all that stuff, but I know that to me it's a real challenge. So that's just where you have to pick up whatever is the challenge for you. You know, this works, but swimming and submerging... Whoa. Okay, last time I simply decided to walk here because I had never walked here before. It's like, take me by the arm. And then just look for the route that you find most interesting. Yeah, I'm just gonna walk. Because where I actually want to get to, plus filming like this may be weird. So maybe Sometimes you just have to fiddle around a little. I'm just gonna keep filming like this. This is the most. I prefer this. You can just whisper. Okay, let's just see. Like I said, this is hardly ever walked in. I just found this by simply following my gut, my feeling. Feathers. This can be used for a dream catcher. Or for anything else. I just really like just looking for places that seem, I don't know, spiritually active. Also places where, you know, it's like nice and moss. It's also a place of life because it's, you know, there's fungi growing. Not sure what these are. There also could, you know, there's insects in there. Maybe even snakes and spiders. So there's warfare happening everywhere. So I did find that fly agaric is being eaten by reindeer. You know, and humans always say they're super dangerous. I mean, sure, but so is coffee. Coffee is even more dangerous because it's being hyped. Anything that is being hyped should be looked at with some suspicion. Anything that the masses say you must do or must have in times like this, where there are actually masses, should be treated with suspicion. Yeah, I walked up here. And there was a hut. So you should always be silent when you walk through nature because you don't know what's around the corner. I'm just saying. So I don't do this and then talk. There's also mushrooms, like puff balls, squirting spores. hard to focus on your environment when the camera is running. Because it's sucking up so much of your life. It really comes with a high cost. So this is my secret, my friend. This is where I get my energy. That's all I can tell you. I just go to great length to find myself in nature. This is what I'm doing. This is what motivates me. This is what calls me out of the house to get deeper and deeper into nature and to the truth of what man once was, right? A being that has dignity, a being that has strength for something and not just against. So we live with nature in balance, and for that you have to get your balance and learning to see there's trails here so you can follow, game trails. I want to go here. Sometimes you see there's a lot of this stuff, you can walk like that. Just to avoid a lot of thorns. So I'm just saying, we need experienced men, my friend. And that means you gotta keep on living and figure this thing out. There's the hut. But I don't want to expose this. So I'm just saying, even if you live in the forest, you can never quite say if somebody will stumble across your wow, super beautiful. To have feet that have no problem with thickets and thorns. It's already getting much, much better. This should be its own reward. Just saying, you have to trick yourself. This is the only truth you will ever find. Everything else is just a lie. Which is why masters often live somewhere close to nature. Yeah, so it's getting colder. Fewer mushrooms. But I've already collected and dried mine. Ouch. Always these high seats, you know, they call themselves hunters, but they don't know jack shit about hunting. They just go to the same spot. It's disgusting. I really don't like this, you know. They should be sorted out. They should have to go through certain rituals. But they're just drunkards. You know, most of these kind of hunters are just alcoholics. That would never... So sure, I mean, you get to know your local area. You'll get to know the animals. And then you know when to go where. Last time I went up there, I came out, oh yeah, now I remember. This is why I did the Peter Pan before. Because it's very hard work to talk or read. So we come here for the silence, which is why you have to listen to me talking, because you have to work for your silence still. I mean, when you turn off this recording or this video, you're still at home or wherever you are. You know, I'm in the middle of it. So wherever I am when I stop the recording, I still have to continue struggling. So I had to walk here. You know, I have to focus to get here, to save the time on talking to people, you know, so I can get back here, and then I still have to do other things which I shan't be recording, which is to do my hiking, because I have a route that I'm going to test today that I simply refuse to share. And then I can be silent, contemplate, look at my surroundings, make an experience, warm up, get back home, prepare for tomorrow. And that's what life should be about then. But you also have to want to prepare for tomorrow. You know, when I went to school still, I just never wanted to prepare myself for that. It just seemed so worthless to learn for these tests. And let's face it, everything I've learned, I had to unlearn you know, all these dates and that's what this and this is. It's so unimportant. It's just important if you want to make money with overpowering people. But to me, this is the only place that understands. And to get there, you know, you just have to work hard. I mean, you have to work harder than everyone else because there's something that you want. Because there's something you want, you have to work hard. You cannot get others to do this for you or to even push you. You have to do this because that's what you want. So that's the real challenge. To first know that you want it and then get yourself to do it because you actually believe that you deserve it. And then to pay very good attention which woman could fit into such a life. Because like I've said many times, there are women. I mean, I can say thank God I've already, you know, lost my wife. So I can struggle back to her. Whatever that means, I don't really care, to be honest. I'm just gonna live my life. I just don't want people piggybacking me because they just want to have a good time, you know. There's people that just want to escape their own place in life and just pull you down with them. And I simply have no interest in that. So they can stick to what they do. I do what I do. I see nature as my guide, as my teacher. You know, you observe a browsing deer, or you observe a soaring kite or an eagle, and that's your message right there. Or an ant carrying its burden for its own tribe. So yeah, look for people that are of the same mind, because there are different kinds of mind. And some minds are different. Like the mind of a kshatriya is different than the mind of other people. Is what I feel may be true. But what do labels really mean? Just see yourself, realize what you do. I mean, of course, this is now a beautiful day, as days go. Perfect for hiking, if you like hiking in sunlight. Wow, certainly easier for filming because you're not gonna get soaked through and stuff. So I don't think there's really any shame. In first getting used to nature in such a way. Because if you're doing it barefoot, it's already a challenge. You know, it's already a big challenge to do it at all. So don't don't know what these are, but I'm also mostly done with collection. Yeah, I'm just sticking to what I know at the moment. I mean, don't have to experiment with everything. So if you already know how cheating feels like, then why would you even consider it? Just because it seems easy? You know what's easy? If your heart is into it, you know. I mean, we all cheated on nature. That's why we're so frustrated. Now we have to start learning to be with her again. Her. Why is it always a her? You know? Why is everybody always so into thinking that nature is female? I mean, it has both traits. Clearly, it's not just female. I don't know, today it's just, you know, you're looking at this because you want to get a whiff of nature. You know, you're still uncertain. You know, what's the point, man? Stop watching this, get into nature. I mean, just do it. Just find yourself some nice hikes, you know, get to know them, you know, test different routes. You know, if you're not necessarily, you know, if you don't really feel like staying where you are, then go somewhere else. I wanted to stay here because that's where my family is. But, I mean, you can live somewhere else. Nobody's forcing you to be where you are. But if you really want to connect with nature and understand something about shamanism and, you know, roots and community, then you have to simply probably, stick to where you popped out. Or, I mean, if you then say, hey, let's just see, maybe I'll find some other place, then try for some time. You know, I did that in the sense, I went to Africa, to the Netherlands, all kinds of places, but in the end I felt bad, because there was a weight. Like I felt the burden of having left people behind, you know? And unless you can do that and feel good about it, but everybody's different, you know? Your parents are different than mine. Your upbringing is different than mine. We all need to make choices. Sometimes, you know, it's just about supporting the people you started out with. But of course, I mean, if your parents were really terrible, you know, I mean, mine aren't exactly easy to deal with. But they understood that I was starting to set very firm boundaries. But there are still things I just don't understand. Some things are just really difficult to bring together, like the spiritual and the worldly stuff. You know, I'm the felt, the feeling, and the thing you can touch. So I feel like the more I engage with my mother, for instance, the more I am going to get away or betray the woman that I fell in love with. So what seems to be my mother is just really weird. Here I collected some Amanita rubescens, which you can eat. Okay, and now I'm just going to push through, because sometimes you can, you know, go a bit off-road. Now in these areas you will rarely find anyone. You know, maybe some occasional electric bike cyclist, mountain bike people, sometimes some a bit more devoted hikers. But most hikers, they don't hike here, because they just go to where they can park their car. So they're not really hiking. They're just going for a walk. I mean, if you bring sticks for a 1 hour walk, then I'm not sure what you're on about. I mean, it's just like you want to look like you're doing something, but you're not actually devoted to it. Because if you want to know how to hike, then you go and hike. And to me, there's no other way than doing this barefoot. But I am working on my own shoes, which I'm going to make with hemp rope. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is that if you are planning to go for a hike, you try to go for a walk. I mean, just look at this. This was supposed to be forest. And now they're just planting Christmas trees here. You know, the cost of Christmas was an earlier video. You know, is this ever going to change? Good question. So yeah, you're preparing to go for a hike, and everyone knows that you're often quite busy, and that means you have no time for idle chit-chat. And then you get a message just saying some random stuff that you're actually not really, you don't want to answer it. Well, then don't answer it, and just go for a hike, and just keep doing it like this. You know, we don't have to do idle chit-chat. These messages are often just traps. You know, let nothing stand in your way of getting back to nature. Okay, so last time I walked here simply because it's also nicer for your feet, but also for other reasons. So I know this road, and you immediately feel a change in temperature because this is moist. This is quite fresh and cold, but it's also soft. The air is different, so it's simply better to get used to cold. I mean, my feet are red, right? It means there's circulation, which means you will not get varicose veins. Varicose veins are simply people who are too fat, too full of fat, lazy people. They start to swell because they're just like plums hanging around, you know, getting riper and fatter and more disgusting. So it's your job to learn to distinguish yourself from people around you, and it just becomes so much easier if you learn to go silently through nature, which I am not at the moment doing. But of course, now this is the trail. Wow. I just have to continue walking because I still have about maybe 3 hours. And this is an ordeal, don't get me wrong. This is not, super easy, I'm gonna go hiking. This is like, okay, gotta push through, gotta push through. This takes devotion, this takes focus, this takes the wish to proceed, to simply know that you can do these hikes, to simply know that, some people just send you messages because they're bored. I'm not bored, I'm devoted, right? So, wow, look at this. Okay, looks bigger because it shriveled up. So prepare yourself and then just push off, Stop drinking coffee. This is just the easiest thing I can tell you. Now, how could you as a predator walk here without making so much noise? I mean, I couldn't do this if I was going hunting, you cannot make so much noise. Or maybe it just feels like it's really loud because but I cannot hear anything if I'm making so much noise. Just go hiking, like there could be wild animals, because there literally could be. But a wolf would probably just move off. Wow, look at this! It's really wet. It's already starting to... Wow. Because they're quite spongy, right? Just to check. No. I'm not gonna take these now. Because it just feels a bit... I have enough for now. I really think we should change everything we think we know about nature. Okay, this is far enough. So now I can just let go. This is a panther, a Amanita pantherina, which I'm not sure about. The Amanita rubescens, I believe that to be, right? An Amanita pantherina. Which is, I suppose, more dark than the Amanita rubescens. So all I'm saying is just be careful about mushrooms. Like, don't be an idiot, and don't give it to other people. That's the most important thing. Just don't feed people stuff just because you're willing to take it. You have to, know about these things, right? Unless somebody really wants to. Wow, this is really... Wow, okay. This I cannot. You see a lot of snails feed on these. Okay, I'm gonna take this one. There's no guarantee that if you find a mushroom that looks like this, that it's actually edible. But my feeling says it is. But it also says that you shouldn't eat too many mushrooms. You should limit yourself. Because they are known to be, people say they're radioactive. But I don't know about that. I like to put it in a blanket. Wow, what a giant thing. Okay, I really like recording myself because I feel less alone. But I think I just have to push through or maybe just a bit further. Yeah, just a bit further. And then I have to So these sponge mushrooms are a bit like... Here's another one. Wow! Oh, but this is now white. It looks a bit like a stone. But like I said, I am not an expert in mushroom. You know, I just realized that I know how to survive. So don't look at this like I'm the expert. Make sure. So that's just what I feel like. So in the end, I do feel fear, right? When I test. But so if you look at these mushroom books, you know, somebody has tested this. I'm just saying. And apparently there are mushrooms that are really spicy. And I happen to believe that every mushroom has some effects. It is, if you look at it a little, it is part of witchcraft. Every mushroom has its own magic. So you no longer see nature as, oh wow, you know, it's just, what is this? You know, it's this thing. No, it's like a living entity. So spirits, you know, it's like presence of the gods. There are certain mushrooms that are really, that were known to be used for witchcraft. When I ate the Amanita rubescens, I did feel, you know, a bit like dizzy. That actually may be one, but you want to stick with the more fresh specimens. And then when you get back home, you know what I'm gonna have. You know, I'm gonna make myself some mushroom, fry mushrooms, eat it with soup. Still have some zucchini soup left. And then see if I survive the night. You know, that's, to me, this is better. To me, it's much better to simply see for yourself if you can manage to survive than to flatter yourself that you're a tough guy because you know how to hike with shoes. Yeah, anyone knows that. Okay, I'll just let you decide for yourself, but I'm not called the Barbarian Lunatic for nothing. I'm called that because I just started to play poker. So I'm playing poker with this woman, you know, I'm all in, you know, that's the cards that I have. I'm all in. But building up a strong and stable relationship with nature takes time. So find the woman that seems like your Tiger Lily or your Wendy, like the ultimate treasure. And then don't be an idiot like Peter, you know. Be Peter, but then don't just steal Wendy away. Also love her, you know. Because, you know, a young girl is like a soul, is a spirit. You know, I'd love to get my hands on these Amanita rubescens again. You know, filming yourself with a camera is a bit like flattery, you know, self-flattery. You're just flattering yourself that you're super important, but you're not. I mean, I'm just saying, if you don't do this, someone else will. But I wanted to live, so I said, hey, I can do it, but I also know somebody else could as well. But then it's not you, so you see potential in yourself. And that's why you start doing this. You know, alcohol, wherever you go. This society is sick. But they're trying to whitewash it. I have also collected stones. I mean, this is super beautiful. So you have to see the beauty along the way. Along the way. That's your job in life. To try to enjoy every step. But to also find something, you know, that gets you to fight. Not sure about all the moss. Okay, now we're getting to okay, these I don't know. Again, one of this high seed stuff. Wow. So if you film yourself in nature, then also make sure you go without a camera on certain occasions. So if there's a hunter here now, you know, then I'd say bad choice. So I'm like a stalking predator for nice sceneries and beautiful moments. That's how you have to live. I mean, I don't necessarily like Chris Webby, but he does get some things, you know. Stay hungry, stay humble. I'm not sure if the humble worked for him, but stay hungry, stay humble. So it's better to be out of harm's way sometimes. Because there are people that were looking for me because I have great abilities. And when I was realizing that people knew this, I simply started to distance myself. Because otherwise they would just use me for their own purposes. But then I say, you know, I'd rather be used by a woman. Because at least she could give me children. So there is a perspective where you could say, I found a woman or a woman found me, and I'm trying to build a life for us together. So I'm doing the scouting, the pushing through. But yeah, I mean, if she's not a fighter, then we will never see each other again. And that's basically what this is about. If she's not a fighter, then I was mistaken, and then she will just get stuck somewhere along the way. So as I continue to struggle, the idea is that she continues to struggle, and then we meet later in life and have children. You know, this exists technically, but you don't know. Right? You don't know. So this is why it's called it's a gamble. You're gambling a little. But you also have faith and trust. And getting to know nature can also be done without having met a woman, right? Which is why I say, in that sense, I don't care. I mean, I care. I'd rather see her again. But to a certain degree, I say I don't care. Because if I sit around caring, I will start waiting. If I sit around waiting, then I cannot continue to build a life. So in a sense, I have to say, I don't really care. But I also don't want to replace her. So you have to get to the point in life where you say, I want to pick a wife. But then you have to build up strength and then find a woman that just sparks something in you. And try to lead a natural life. I just know that there are women who don't want to be nice to you. They just slouch off. That's what I've said many times. But yeah, this is actually about discovering nature. And not about talking about women. So it's also to stay silent, so you cannot talk about women. You just have to be in nature. Okay. So you walk through nature like you're carrying a secret. And you have to keep that to yourself. Because otherwise people come and steal it away. But there are people who know the secret. And they'll know how to stay silent. You don't know how badly I want to hunt deer, man. Gee. So yeah, strength doesn't come from eating meat. Strength comes from straining and pushing through. And, I'll say that's what we really need. Men who just know how to push through. So this isn't about just me and nature and, I go here because it's a challenge. I go here because I simply want to know the ways. Because every time I leave the house, I walk through nature. It's a portal to a new me. So it's like traveling dimensions. Every new experience that you find, makes you stronger. Just like hiking barefoot. Every new experience is also helping you to protect your inner child, which I consider to be your light. Which is why that's what I find, partly my reason why I'm looking for strength is so I can hold my ground against people that want to, change my life into being something else. Like, I just don't want to be controlled, which is why I need to be strong, so I can shake weaklings off without having to fight them, And that's what I've been doing now for a very long time. I just shook everyone off that was like a dead weight and just shook people off that just wanted to pride themselves, you know, that they could take me on because I had already chosen. Why would I throw away that choice that has brought me this far for someone who just wants fun? You know, I'm not your escape. You know, I may be partly the way through for some people. Because if I can build a life, maybe make a living by, trying to teach conscious living, if I can make a living with that, then I can build a commune with people, who are a bit like me. So I can be the way through for others, but for all of us, nature is the way through. So if we want to live together in harmony in nature and teach people conscious living, then we have to have some people who know how to get there. I saw my way through. I learned, but I also had, the background. So there's no point to be, jealous or whatever. It's just you have to see your way through. And if you don't have people who can support you, then you have to support yourself. And then you have to save every penny you have, to focus on your dream. I mean, I've been doing nothing else than this. Filming, producing content. You think that is an easy choice? You think it's super awesome? I mean, you're just alone all the time. And everything you feel you want, everyone's struggling. But you don't know how many people are clinging to you once you start creating content. You have to be able to hold this, right? Because everyone who follows you, who spends time with your content, is also starting to pull, right? So it's not just, you become like a Christmas tree and every person is like, like some kind of thing hanging on it. So this isn't easy, but it may be necessary. And that's simply what I was feeling. You want to do sadhana, you have to share. I'm just saying. And I'm sharing a lot. And I preserve my energy so I can keep sharing. Because to me that's more important than talking to strangers on the street. Because nowadays everybody gets his stuff from the internet. And if I talk to you on the street or on a hike, do some idle chit chat, then I'm losing time, which is energy, which is life. And then I stand around talking to you while I actually wanted to, the half an hour which I lose talking to you, I could be hiking. And then you take my energy that you wanted, that I needed to push through the hike, and then come back and cook. You take it, go back home, and masturbate. So, you know why I stopped shaking hands, right? In favor of doing this instead. And I've become stronger and stronger and stronger. But you also have to get used to this amount of strength. So it's not just about just pushing boundaries. It's about, how is it called? Activity, but also relaxation. So it's the push and the pull, It's the give. Yeah, you can give. Yeah, it's nice, you can give. But maybe you also have to, take. If people don't give enough, you start taking. But what are you giving? And what are you taking? And, when you give and people appreciate, the you that is giving, then they'll give back by themselves. Because otherwise you may stop giving. And I did that. Simply stop talking. And talking is giving. So the less you talk, just idle chit chat, the more you have to, do this instead. But I still have to do this in such a way because that's the times we live in today. It's actually special to go into nature. You know, you're like, I have to choose this. Okay, then choose it. Yeah, why would I? It's too much effort. No, you're just scared, my friend. And you're just weak. And you're most of all scared of your own weakness. But most places, I mean, there are stages to diving into nature. There's not just this, you know, bam, bears and wolves, right? There are also the transitional phases, you know. So you've got also like parks, but parks are usually just addicts and drug abuse. That's what I found. That's what parks are. It's not nature. Parks aren't nature. And this is still transitionary, right? I mean, in that sense, it's not nature in terms of the Amazonian rainforest. I mean, this is child's play. So what can you do here? Right? Just hike, you know, make dream catchers, you know, that kind of stuff. So you just have to see then the just being in nature. That's then the challenge. You know, weather, shifts in temperature, winter, you know, heat, summer, you know, you go, sometimes maybe you just don't bring water. May look for it on the way, but also there, be careful, I don't know. You know, never drink standing water. Drink running water. And also make sure there's maybe not a lot of agriculture going around there, because that's then heavily full with pesticides and these extra nutrition things, fertilizers. So, you know, we should just get back to the natural life, like the way the forest used to be when the brothers Grimm were working on their stuff. But they were already afraid of the forest. So the alienation of humans from nature has been going on for quite some time. So now I'm trying to alienate myself from society. And sometimes I walk through, you know, I walk somewhere and there's still people. I say nothing. You know, I feel more like an animal. I feel more like an animal. Like sometimes I feel more like their dogs. Because that's what I do when I'm hiking in silence. I just connect with my animal nature. You know, just push through, will to survive, you know. That kind of thing. So I stay away from people who smoke. Stay away from people who drink alcohol. You know, I do it my own way. And sure, these things also in a way hurt, right? You felt like you could like red wine, but then you see where it's gonna get you. You're just gonna get a lazy drunk. You're not gonna be conscious when you drink. That's just all I'm saying. I mean, if being sober is boring, you know, then stay asleep. Yeah, and then you've got stupid places like this. Everywhere needs to be some connection, some Wi-Fi, you know, some mobile hotspot, whatever. And for that they mow down forests, you know, for what? So I can, you know, post selfies instantly when I'm somewhere in nature, you know. That's the price. And you know how it works in the Amazon. You know, they work themselves from the outside in. And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And once they start building roads, you know, like through it somewhere, then they can more easily extract wood, you know. And then at one point they've got paved roads. And then it's cut in half. And then it's cut in quarters. But it's like cancer. It's like when you smoke. You know, it starts taking you apart from the inside out. Which is why if you feel like you're already dead, I mean, then you have to start. Take off your shoes, go hiking barefoot in nature. And then rebuild, you know. Cut the crap, I'm a vegan man. You know, if you're struggling for your life, then take the damn meat broth. I mean, and just be strong. I mean, I get that. I feel a bit of shame when I eat meat. But to me, I feel it's also the natural thing to do. How do you think I felt when I bought my first €8 chicken from the shops and then made it at home? You know, I felt a bit disgusted, but then I realized, you know, what for? Like, you know, I deserve to be alive. I deserve to be alive. That's simply what I feel like. I deserve to be alive. I deserve to lead the life that I want to live. Despite the fact that society is terrible and everyone's toxic and, you know, gets off on each other and, you know, just focuses on the failures and all that kind of stuff. You know, I deserve to, you know, be allowed to keep my inner child alive. That is simply what I choose to believe, you know. I am a human being. I have the right to live. So, you know, why should I? You know, the goal is to see the beauty in life. Despite the darkness, you know, you can see colors. You know, everybody always says, you know, like the sunshine, then you've got the light, and out of the light comes then the rainbow. Yeah, don't you think darkness has all the colors as well? Everything is within everything, smaller and bigger. And that's then the kaleidoscope, the many-faceted self, you know. So everything you see also on the outside, if you see a lot of toxic people, well then maybe you're also toxic, right? And then also the way you treat them. You know, I want to have clean, healthy people around me. And for that I have to clean and heal myself. And then whatever I clean in myself, I may also, you know, be able to heal in others from a distance. Because if we're all connected, then everything I see in a sense is also partly myself. Right? And that's the idea of oneness. So, you know, if I feel like, oh, you know, I don't see life the way maybe Gandhi did. You know, he tried meat when he was younger, but then he didn't do it. Because he was also living amongst people that were mostly vegan, vegetarian, whatever. They had this thing about not eating meat, you know. But he also lost all his teeth. You know, I rather live like a wild animal. And sometimes you maybe have to hunt for a meal. But I ate some soup. But into the soup I also, you know, that's not advice. I cooked a bit of FLYARGARIC, if that's how you write it. You know, I put one into this, a small one. I cooked it into a meat soup. A big pot. It was a small CAP. It was a small cap. Could be a hat, right? I don't think this should be hidden information. So I just ate that soup, like a meat broth with cabbage and stuff, and then I went hiking. You know, I'll see what food I'll cook this week, but I'm clearly busy. You know, I'm too busy to talk to people. I'm too busy to, you know, send the messages. You know, if you're bored, go hiking or do some crochet. You know, if you're stuck sitting at home, you know, is that my problem? No, it isn't. You know, that's then yours. If you're stuck sitting at home, then you should simply start to move. And I mean, I have seen myself leading a different kind of a life. but that still exists somewhere else. Maybe I'm escaping. I don't think so. I don't think I can ask a woman whether she wants to be my wife and then just choose someone else. That's just disrespectful. And if I have learned anything, then that respect is one of the most important goods that we as humans have, or any being has. And so if I would have stayed at home, I would have felt cold and dead and deaf. And now I start hiking again, just looking for my own truth, like a feeling, you know. I rather massage my feet on trails like this than sit around and mope about how cold I feel. Because when I get back home now, you know, I'm well prepared for the rest of the week. I think one of the greatest challenges is simply to do this throughout winter, regularly, to do this also when it rains, to do it when it's dark. But ultimately, I simply feel the need to test myself, which is why now there is a bigger route that I'm preparing myself to hike. But I first do it like this now. I do smaller sections and then I stretch it out a little. So you do smaller sections and then you get closer to, you know. So, okay, also what I have started to decide is where I stopped recording last time, I'm going to continue recording next time. So every time I have to walk a bit further until I can record again. And that's actually really nice, because this way I know that at least once a week I have to do one bigger hike. Plus the hike gets longer and longer until I then finally hiked the entire 30 kilometers. So now I'm going to hike to this spot and then I'm going to walk back. But at least I know then already how it looks like, how it feels like. And then I stretch out the hikes and I get used to hiking longer and longer distances. So now I'm actually filming longer than I thought I would. But I just want to get to that point. That's what I decided to do now. So it's just my way of push me out of the house. Because I could also have done these recordings at home. And, you know, done something else. But what's the point? I mean, I want to be in nature a lot. And I want to get used to hiking. And I just want to keep pushing through. Plus, you wake up, there's beautiful weather, and you say, hey, I'll do this, you know? You know, I could have done it tomorrow, but I don't know what the weather is going to be like because I never ever check the weather forecast. I just look outside and then choose what to do. But I also have a rain poncho, which of course helps you. So yeah, you start choosing a different life. You have to get to know yourself in this new life, right? You have to work out a routine. You have to let go of certain habits that you had before. And then you have to simply start to adapt. And then you're a bit like a nomad, you know, like a spiritual nomad. That's how I grew up. And I realized if I wanted to hike like this, lead a life in nature, then I needed to eat meat. That's just what I realized. And now there's someone. I'm just going to put it to the side. People with dogs and shoes, not worth my while. Very simple, very easy.
Hello.
I don't give a crap. You know? It's so pointless to greet someone that you don't know, right? People only greet you because they want something from you. They want your attention. But I don't want to give attention to you because you wear shoes and you walk with a stupid little dog. If you need the dog to leave the house, you know, bad choice. Because I'm not your friend. You to me are like a little hare. And I'm then a bit like a panther. And I'm serious about this. And this just acknowledgement. You know, acknowledge your existence. So I'll make sure you keep out of my way. Right? And I'll make sure I keep out of harm's way. Which is why I stay away from humans. Because humans are toxic. People who consider themselves as above. You know, that's what I mean with they're toxic. And that's simply what I have decided and accepted. But I still like these paths. Because here in this area, there is a lot of like dams for collecting water, for drinking water. And you also cannot swim in these. So my ultimate location where I'm gonna get to with these hikes is where I already swam. That's the place where I want to get to, you know. And it's in total a 30-kilometer hike. So I'll just get better at doing these things. How long is this? Okay, still have time. I just want to get to this spot, and from there I will continue. So, I mean, this is in a way still discovering nature, but it's then, I mean, all these little huts and villages along the way. Plus I get to know more and more roads, hiking trails, passages, pathways. So the challenge is simply to do it. I mean, I can talk non-stop, especially when you're hiking, when you're out on the road, and when you're, you know, getting better at this. You realize you've got incredible stamina that people who sit a lot or have small dogs, just they won't understand you. And so I know you don't have respect, because that's just what I see. You're lacking respect, and you just have no connection to the ground. So I'll double check these mushrooms, not the first one perhaps, but the second one, because the sponge was white, and I simply want to make sure. So, I mean, I don't want to sound like I really hate a lot of things. It's just that I simply made choices along the way where I simply said, there are things I reject, because I always acknowledge the spiritual side, and the spiritual side is really hard to read. It's really hard to look at, but you have to know what's underneath the surface of whatever you think is good, and for that you have to look at it. So I don't know. I just think that if it comes to creating content, I would rather follow a guy like me, you know, than maybe, you know, if I look at Ramdas, for instance, you know, he didn't really ever do it because he really wanted to. You know, he just sucked up to Maharaji. Yeah, he just sucked up to him because that's the best thing he found along the way. But he also still clung to his LSD and stuff. So he wasn't really devoted. You know, he was also just goofing around, which is why in the end he did not continue with the practice of all this stuff that he did. He just became fat and miserable, and then he had a seizure, you know. And then he simply continued to heal. So, I mean, I get it. It's really hard, especially from his perspective. I mean, he was living like the high road. He was a Harvard professor. But you could say, you know, I did the studying, but I never pushed off with this. I simply realized that what it would mean. I felt like I would lose myself if I would work as an environmental protection engineer. But the information is still there. The perspective is still there. So I can still help people save nature just by talking about the relevant subjects. And the relevant subject is you. You are the relevant subject. And you have to choose to carry your energy into nature and then cleanse and heal, get stronger, and simply show humanity that we can still be strong and natural, that you don't have to be sick and disgusting. You know, that's basically what I am doing. It's not even that I'm trying to do it, I am doing it. You know, regardless of millions of people follow me. You know, sometimes you check and there's like 200 and something, and then you check and then there's one less. You know, should that break my flow? No, because I know it's already planned out, you know. I already know my content is coming. And then there's always the fear. Well, do you know that what you're doing is according to the, you know, community guidelines? Yes. You don't talk about certain topics here. You're not trying to rile up people. You're just trying to teach them to work with themselves. You know, self-responsibility. Give yourself acupressure. You know, treat yourself. You know, work with yourself. Like you're the therapist, you're in charge. You get to know yourself. You know what you need because you know what you feel if you start paying attention to it. And for that, you first have to work off a lot of these subjects, a lot of these feelings, a lot of this stuff that just buries your light. So it's not to just get rid of the darkness, it's just to, you know, merge more light into it. And for that you have to do your cleansing, open your channels, and once the energy is flowing, you have to keep directing yourself, you know, into the direction that makes the most sense to you, specifically as an individual, in relation to whoever you met along the way, whoever inspired you. You know, that's your path. You know, my path is to a certain degree like a war path, because I am not a friend of the industry, and I was just looking for ways to communicate it by simply showing people nature and how to build up a broken spirit. Okay, now we're getting towards the Jubach-Talsperre, which is this one. Talsperre means a valley break. Yeah, so there's a valley and you put a dam into it, and then the water accumulates into what looks like a lake. But if the dam broke, the lake would be gone and then it would be just a valley again. So we have a lot of these here, which is then to a certain degree nice, you could say. But you also find it a bit phony and yeah. Okay. Now I'm here. I am dressed warmly enough. I'm going to keep my face to myself because I think you should rather see nature. So I'm also working with these signs, right? Like the road signs. I have a road, like a hiking map. I occasionally look at it, and when I see signs, I try to remember them, so I know where they lead. And then once I know the major hiking trails, you know, I can then also experiment. So that's what you have to do. You have to traverse the area where you live frequently or infrequently, that doesn't matter, however much time you can have, take off away from other things. And then if I were to have children, I would lead like a nomad life. which is why I would go on 30-kilometer hikes with my children, which then means I would have to carry them. And I would also take my wife because, you know, sometimes nomads have to travel, right? So my wife has to get used to hiking. She has to know how to hike, and that's just, you know, what I'm saying. So you just pick yourself up and you just keep pushing through, and you know, just see where the boundaries are. And I just don't know what's going to happen in my life. I just don't want to be taken for granted. And, you know, I rather like people who know how to suffer and who have respect, because there are too many people who don't have respect. And that's just the last point, possibly. There are probably a lot of women that would want you as a man. I'm just saying, I keep on saying that. You have to be careful. Pick the one that you like the most. And then just see whatever comes out of this. You know, stay true, stay devoted, but in the end you don't know. It's like in Die Nibelungen, just like German mythology or something. It's like with Siegfried and the dragon. You know, he chose a woman who lacked proper training, like princess type, and you could say that she was responsible for his early demise. So he had all these super dragon powers, but he chose a woman that stabbed him in the back. She gave away the secret. No, actually what she did is, because he helped a friend to overtake this other Brunhilde, like a really strong, powerful woman who said, the man who wants to wed me has to overpower me in, you know, in 3 contests, and the last content is then the marriage. So here is where I'll leave off, because I've never walked there. And then next time I'm going to start recording here again, or so I assume, and I'll just see where this gets me. But yeah, it's worth looking into. Mythology often has a lot of truth, but what does it mean to your life? Hell if I know. Cheerio.